So good evening, happy Friday. Welcome to this week's Friday Study Circle. And so here we share, reflections on what we have read this week or any questions or anything. And we mostly focus on the works of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. So welcome. And uh, I would request that whoever is ready, Jyotsna ji, Chitra ji, or Captain, we can start with the sharing. Please, thank you. Captain, would you like to go first today?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Oh.
Thank you. Nowadays, I'm reading the synthesis of yoga.
Arey wow.
It's not leaving us, I think. Yeah, it is not leaving us.
I think I'll order my copy tomorrow.
Yeah, because daily morning the reading is there actually, and Saturday that session is there. I mean, with Divyanshi.
Yeah.
So always with that book only, I am also. See.
So nice. I'm so lucky to be surrounded by this, Captain.
So I was reading the chapter Self-Surrender in Works, the way of the Gita. And the sentence starts with, by how then shall we continue to act at all? If it could be.
What page?
But it's starting with but. But how then
page,
shall we
page
continue?
number?
93.
Page number 104. My volume.
No, it is
104.
93.
104.
But still each time, huh?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
next one. But if this
follow his nature.
No, I think. But if this total conversion to be done, that one or the
No, this is how. But how then shall we continue to act at all?
Yeah, so we found it. This is it then, Captain, right?
Okay. Self-surrender in works, no?
This is the one.
But by what practical steps of so many buts are there?
Yes,
he
yes,
said
yes.
something else.
Yeah, but how then shall we continue to act? Yes.
But what practical steps of self-discipline? That one?
This one. This is this.
No. Chitradi,
Oh,
page
yeah.
104, the last para, second last para.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
This is the last para. But how then shall we continue?
Oh, yeah. That conclusion. Yeah.
This was in connection with karma, because we had been talking about surrender in our previous meetings. We had been talking about the surrender, how to surrender.
But how then shall we continue to act at all?
Yes.
Taru, but dull.
Yeah. It is there. Yeah. But
how then?
Shall we continue?
There, are you not able to see the screen? Should
I? Yeah. I can see.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'll just read it out. And I've got one question in that, and rest, of course, I have understood a little bit. But how then shall we continue to act at all? For ordinarily, the human being acts because he has a desire or feels a mental, vital, or physical want or need. He is driven by the necessities of the body, by the lust of riches, honors or fame, or by a craving for the personal satisfactions of the mind or the heart, or a craving for power or pleasure. Or he is seized and pushed about by a moral need, or at least the need of the desire of making his ideas, or his ideals, or his will, or his party, or his country, or his gods prevail in the world. If none of these desires nor any other must be the spring of our action, it would seem as if all incentive or motive power had been removed and action itself must necessarily cease. The Gita replies with its third great secret of the divine life. All action must be done in a more and more Godward and finally a God possessed consciousness. Our works must be a sacrifice to the divine and in the end, a surrender of all our being, mind, will, heart, sense, life, and body to the one must make God love and God service our only motive. This transformation of the motive force and very character of works is indeed its master idea. It is the foundation of its unique synthesis of works, love, and knowledge. In the end, not desire, but the consciously felt will of the eternal remains as the sole driver of our action and the sole originator of its initiative. And the last para is equality, renunciation of all desire for the fruit of our works, action done as a sacrifice to the Supreme Lord of our nature and of all nature. These are the three first Godward approaches in the Gita's way of Karma Yoga. So, in this, it's very interesting actually. The way the explanation and the description has been given by Sri Aurobindo. Probably it's very difficult to do any work if he really says the karma as per the definition of Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So it's very difficult because all these conditions which has been put behind probably is a total surrender to God. Total surrender to God. Only then only probably we'll be able to start the karma, whatever our day-to-day karma or any other thing which we are doing. In this one, I could not understand this. Gita replies with its third great secret of the divine life. So the question comes, what was the first and second? If the Gita replies with its third great secret of the divine life. So what are the first two secrets?
I think the first two secrets, actually, it is in that if you take the Bhagavad Gita book, this Karma Yoga chapter is coming as before. I mean, I will see. Wait, yeah. Bhagavad Gita book is here.
It's chapter 2, no?
Yeah, because that first, second chapter is Sankhya Yoga in Bhagavad Gita, actually.
Yes.
In that, Sri Krishna is explaining about almost all the gist of the yogas, actually. And there also he stresses upon the surrender only, Sankhya Yogam also, actually. So that third secret must be, with its third secret of the divine life is all action must be done in a more and more Godward and finally a God-possessed consciousness. Yes.
No, I think the first is, even in the Gita, first is surrender.
Yeah.
Is don't look for the fruit. Third is upward consciousness.
No, actually, in this itself, it is all given. What is his doubt is, these three are the third secret. What is the two other secrets is Captain is asking, I think.
Here it is told, no?
Yeah.
Captain, the
Yes.
last paragraph.
Yes.
The first is equality, samta.
Yes.
Second is renunciation of all desire. That is the crux of the Gita.
Yes.
Renunciation is the crux of the Gita. What we remember since childhood is renunciation of all desire for the fruit of our works.
Yes.
Tyag do is what they always say. Karam karo, tyag do. Karam karo, tyag do. And third is action done as a sacrifice to the Supreme Lord of our nature, of all nature, of everything. These are the three first Godward approaches.
Yeah,
in the
correct,
Krishna's
correct.
way of
Yeah,
karma.
he clearly summed up. Yes, yes,
Yes.
correct. Equality, renunciation of, yeah, he clearly summed up.
Yes.
Shiv.
When I was very small, I remember when I read the Gita, the only take home I had was I have to do all the work, but I must not get a reward. Must not look for the reward. That was my take home as a child. And I carried it throughout, and it was very difficult not to expect. But then he says very clearly, equality, renunciation of all desire for the fruit of our works, and third is action done. I think it's in the first page only. When
Yeah,
Sri
yes.
Krishna talks, he says, renounce desire for the fruit of the work. See, Chitradi, check.
So,
Correct, correct, you are correct. Correct,
yes.
Ustazji. Yeah,
And
last,
even in
he-
Bhagavad Gita, as a karmanni badhikaraste ma phalishu kadachan.
That's the one.
So,
yeah.
so that was the second one, the renunciation of all desire for the fruit of our works. Then the third thing comes, action done as a sacrifice to the
Sacrifice.
Supreme Lord of our natures and of
Usually-
all natures.
Yeah, usually
of all
Sri Aurobindo used to summarize like this actually.
Yes.
First, Sri Aurobindo will explain everything,
Yes.
and the end, Sri Aurobindo would clearly summarize the thing.
Summarize it.
Jyotsnaji correctly pointed out. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
So, of course, this point is clear. And then all action must be done in a more and more Godward and finally God-possessed consciousness. Our work must be a sacrifice to the divine, and in the end, a surrender of all our beings, mind, will, heart, sense, life, and body to the one must make God love and God service our only motive. The motive force or the motivation has been explained as for nothing else which are listed in the beginning of the paragraph, but this will be the motive force will be in this sentence actually. Surrender of all our being, mind, will, heart, sense, life, and body to the one must make God love and God service our only motive. What I have seen in practical life, whenever any small work we are doing, any work we are doing at home or in the office or something, and if the doer, we make it that as if God is doing, then there's a problem is solved actually. It becomes, whether it is the result is good or bad, that does not affect much. So this sort of work probably has to be originated. What I've seen is that if you leave everything to God, this whatever I'm doing, it is not this body or this person per se. So it is very, very difficult to practice, but probably I have seen whenever a little bit of say surrender or this thing has been done, so then it becomes less painful. Any work, it may be a thankless job. We are not waiting for some savasi or somebody should praise for the job which you have done or something. But since we get the pamper from our colleagues and from the bosses and all that, so probably that gives us that feeling that is I have done. But actually, that we very constantly think that this is not that I myself. So that feeling has to go. Even if that I is there, Ramakrishna says that it should be like you are the Lord and I am your servant service. I am at your service. So that feeling has to be there. So whatever job we are doing, I'm not the doer, or I'm not the initiator. It's everything is uh, God, Godhead. We have to move towards this direction. So that was the thing which I understood from this paragraph. And the summary of Bhagavad Gita actually has been given in this. So the renunciation, as Jyotsnaji was saying, that the renunciation is the main thing. There is a story told by Ramakrishna Paramahansa to his disciples. One day, he was telling there was a king, and in his there used to be meeting, actually religious meeting every evening. So in that one priest used to come, and he was reading Bhagavad. So then that priest religiously, he will come at a time, appointed time every day, and he will read, and king also will be there, and all other people, those are interested, they will also be there in this. Then at the end, he will ask that Maharaj, have you understood? Every day, at the end, he will ask, Maharaj, have you understood? So, but Maharaj used to keep quiet. He never used to reply. So it was going on by months together, years together, like that. Then one day, he started thinking that why I am asking this question, but why he is not replying. And so then he got the courage, and he asked on that particular day, fateful day, that Maharaj, have you understood? Maharaj says, first you understand, then you ask me. Maharaj only said this much. And then he got up, he has finished the lecture study. So he got up and he went not to home, the quarter which was allotted to him, but he went other side. Through the gate he went out, and he never came back. That was the realization, the renunciation. Means it says that everything you have to forget about. It cannot be attached to anything, whether it is a thought, whether it is a physical properties or mental properties, or anything. It's a total detachment. Total detachment is required to realize this. Probably we have to practice for years together, or probably something may appear, because here the life is not helping us. The nature of job which we are supposed to do in the actual definition. That's all I have finished. If any other thought process. Thank you.
Surprisingly, I was reading the same. I was reading the same thing, but from mother.
I have a question in this. So this sentence where it says about the sacrifice. Where is it? Yeah, our work must be, first of all, the page that I pulled up before, it didn't have half of the things Captain read. I mean, it was a concise version. This one has everything. So I was kind of playing a bit of catch up. But our works must be a sacrifice to the divine. That day we read what Mother spoke on sacrifice, that, how it's not, you shouldn't feel that way. And here also, like you said, first is surrender, right? And then second was renunciation. Somehow, I think without renunciation, maybe surrender is also not possible. Like, it's like, they're all kind of simultaneous, first of all, right? It cannot.
Yeah, someone raised the question in the reading class, actually, what is actually meant by sacrifice? The person who explained, Josnaji, remember, Yogi ji explained, no, that sacrifice is also an offering, because that English language doesn't have a proper word for that, actually, it seems. It is also a offering, no? It is called, actually. So it is also an offering. It is mentioned as sacrifice in English. Yeah. Offering and
Because when we hear sacrifice, something else comes up.
No, that is not. offering.
The English meaning of sacrifice is misleading. It is not sacrifice as in sacrifice where we say that we give up something that gives us pleasure for the pleasure of somebody else. No. Actually, that was what I was going to read today, but I will read a part of it. What is the difference between surrender and offering? It begins with that. Okay, mother. Somebody asked mother. The two words are almost synonymous. Okay, surrender and offering. I make the offering of myself and I surrender myself. But in the gesture of offering, there is something more active than in the gesture of surrender. Because in surrender, there is an element of passivity. In the gesture of offering, you're giving of yourself. I give of myself. So it is considered higher than surrender. I have learned this today. And unfortunately, submission, S-O-U-M-I-S-S-I-O-N, submission in French is not the true word. In English, we use surrender. Between the words surrender and offering, there is hardly any difference. But the French word submission gives the impression of something more passive. And that passive equates towards surrender. Offering equates to something giving of yourself. And consecration equates to giving all. A consecration, the word that we use very loosely as self-consecration, my own self-consecration. But actually, someone asked mother, what is the exact meaning of the word consecration? And she says, consecration generally has a more mystical sense. But this is not absolute. A total consecration signifies a total giving, complete, of oneself. Hence, it is the equivalent of the word surrender and not the word submission, which always gives the impression that one accepts passively. So, you feel a flame in the word consecration, a flame even greater than in the word offering. So consecration surpasses all. To consecrate oneself is to give oneself to an action. That activity you are giving yourself completely, and hence in the yogic sense, it is to give oneself to some divine work, not a personal fun work. Consecration is always to some divinity, to some divine work, with the idea of accomplishing the divine work. Means you want to take it to finish, is what I learned today. Today I was going to read this whole thing out because I don't know, it's happening in the last 7-8 classes. What y'all discuss is what I have read. But I present it much later. But it is the same. It has there is a lot of deep meaning in consecration. So if you take it on a rung of the ladder, it is consecration first, then comes offering, and the lowest is surrender.
So we are going from surrender, offering, and consecration. Okay.
It is like
Even
this.
I had a doubt. What is it, self-consecration? Thank you for bringing this, Jyotsnaji, really.
It's an eye-opener for me also, because I didn't know that it was to accomplish a divine work. Though very often my friend used to say, Josnadi, it's not only surrender, it's consecrate, you consecrate yourself. अपने को तो साला समझता ही नहीं था. I used to think it is surrender, but this is way beyond it.
Further also you can read, no? Yeah.
Yeah, there is one thing which Mother says, when the resolution has been taken, when you have decided that the whole of your life shall be given to the divine, you have still at every moment to remember it and carry it out in all the details of your existence. You must feel at every step that you belong to the divine. You must have the constant experience that in whatever you think or do, it is always the divine consciousness that is acting through you. You have no longer anything that you can call your own. You feel everything as coming from the divine, and you have to offer it back to its source. So if you, I was trying to analyze, if you get joy, you have to consecrate back that joy. We generally don't. We hold it with ourselves. So we have to offer it back. When you can realize that, even the smallest thing to which you do not usually pay much attention or care ceases to be trivial and insignificant. It becomes full of meaning and it opens up a vast horizon beyond. How beautiful, no?
Very beautiful, very beautiful.
She says, because the least detail of life and action, each movement of thought, even the sensation of feeling, which is normally of little importance, becomes different the moment you look at it, asking yourself, did I think this is an offering to the divine? Did I feel this is an offering to the divine? If you recall this every moment of your life, the attitude becomes quite different from what it was before. It becomes very wide. It is a chain of innumerable little things, each having its own place, whilst formerly you used to let them go without being aware of them. That widens the field of consciousness. If you take a half hour of your life and think of it, I'm going to do this experiment today. Putting to yourself this question, is it a consecration to the divine, that half hour? You will see that the small things become a big thing. And you will have the impression that life has become rich and luminous. I have often realized that when I'm suddenly wanting to surrender and I become aware that I have to step back and surrender, you know, something that I would just keep like this, I will slowly take and place very, very respectfully. You know, you're so careful.
Very nice.
Watching you.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Are you reading further, Josna ji?
If you want me to, it's many paragraphs like that.
I think this is like, I think we should read this again. I mean, this is so significant. And sometimes, you know, it's like you come across something and it's like, yes, that makes, you know, how come it wasn't so black and white for me before? You know, maybe you were even doing things And when you see this in black and white, you're like, oh, so this is what was happening, right? Like how sometimes it just has,
That deja vu comes.
yeah, and just it's like something clicks that, oh, this is what you have been doing, or this is where you were being guided, because it all seemed like similar. And like you were saying, it's so amazing that if you could do that, actually, I would feel that maybe, I mean, if I talk about myself, I would say maybe 60%, I'm just giving a figure. I would not just engage in those 60% of the things that I keep engaging in, because it's not towards, kind of where I want to go. I mean, I still, we say this theoretically that, everything should be there. And yet there are so many things that you give energy to, right? Like, of course, things are happening and that's a different thing. But where I'm giving my energy, if I question it right then, right? Like, I think it would be much easier to step back that, it doesn't matter. It's not worth the thing. I have so many other, because like it said, it gets extended, right? So you are so much in the joy of what happened, I don't know, 10 minutes back or 1 hour back, that this thing that is trying to trigger you, you don't want to give this energy. It's like, how it says that less stakes, right? The stakes reduce, less drama. And it's not like, not in an arrogant way, but it's not worth my while. Like, it's not. So yeah, so again, so that the joy of the expansion continues.
Yeah, in the Josna ji, you explained, no, one day in that class, she said, even keeping the money in the purse, she was very conscious, it seems, nowadays. She told.
You
No,
know,
you explained. Yeah.
I used to be very careless about keeping money in the purse. No, somebody gives back the change, I would just hold the notes and put them in one place and then use it again. Not throw money, but just shove it. One day I was, and I used to tell myself, that you should not be attached to money. Money is not the means to an end. Money is not the goal. So I used to just keep it and use it and keep it, and till one day I read mother what she said about money. And she said that money is the means to a particular end. Money also has to be respected. Like, you read a book of spirituality and you keep it carefully, same way. And everything, when you handle money, should be done with a lot of care and respect. It is only then that money will give you the means to complete your mission. It's about 25 years ago I had read. Believe me, I keep notes with such caution, small to big, neatly. I never roll and fold a note and do this. I'll never twist it and keep it like that. I will always give with respect, with the other hand. Because it suddenly struck me that we take so many things for granted. And a small gesture, I have respect for, I won't throw a spoon into the sink. I will place it in the sink. And that one small write-up taught me. So I think some incidents came up in the group, so I spoke. And I thought, we'll all learn, because in most of it, we learn. Here, she speaks on, is identification the goal of yoga? Does not offering imply surrender? She gives a very clear meaning. And is there an experience which proves that one is living in the presence of the divine?
No, Josna ji, actually, as Taru said, we will go through it again.
Yes.
The consecration itself.
Taru,
We will go through it again if she brings
take the larger, the longer explanation, Taru.
Yeah, because it is very deep actually. Yeah.
Which one should I, where should I?
I'll tell you. The two words are almost synonymous,
This one,
but
right?
this is not the whole thing. Go to
Yeah.
the bottom and
Oh,
read the entire text.
okay.
Is it till voluntary giving?
Oh, okay.
No, this ends with this in.
Okay, we'll find it. It's on 28th April 1929.
Okay. Oh, I mean, we could just, okay, so I'll just do, what should I do now?
Just check if you get it by the date. 28th of April.
One link I'm getting when you say I make the offering of myself. See, there's just one link.
No, yoga means union with the divine.
Okay, you're doing
Okay.
yoga.
Union
Not of the divine, with the
with the
divine.
divine.
Huh. Do an advanced search.
Mm.
This one?
Mm.
Yes, yes.
Mm. Yeah.
Yoga means union with the divine, and the union is effected through offering. It is founded on the offering of yourself to the divine. That was what Mother said on 28th April 1929. But then, what is the difference between surrender and offering? The two words are almost synonymous. I make the offering of myself and I surrender myself. But in the gesture of offering, there is something more active than in the gesture of surrender. I also realized during this reading that surrender is more passive than offering and consecration. Surrender is more passive. You do this, but when you offer, you do this. And when you consecrate, so you give everything. So, makes sense. Unfortunately, soumission in French is not the true word. In English, we use surrender. Between the words surrender and offering, there is hardly any difference. But the French word soumission gives the impression of something more passive. You accept, while offering is a giving, a voluntary giving. What is the exact meaning of the word consecration? Consecration generally has a more mystical sense, but this is not absolute. A total consecration signifies a total giving of oneself. Hence, it is the equivalent of the word surrender, not of the word submission, which always gives the impression that one accepts passively. You feel a flame in the word consecration, a flame even greater than in the word offering. To consecrate oneself is to give oneself to an action. Hence, in the yogic sense, it is to give oneself to some divine work with the idea of accomplishing the divine work.
So,
In this, yeah, when the resolution has been taken, When you have decided that the whole of your life shall be given to the divine, you have still at every moment to remember it and carry it out in all the details of your existence. You must feel at every step that you belong to the divine. You must have the constant experience that in whatever you think or do, it is always the divine consciousness that is acting through you. You have no longer anything that you can call your own. You feel everything as coming from the divine, and you have to offer it back to its source. When you can realize that, then even the smallest thing to which you do not usually pay much attention or care ceases to be trivial and insignificant. It becomes full of meaning and it opens up a vast horizon beyond. Because the least of detail of life and action, each movement of thought, even the sensation of feeling, which is normally of little importance, becomes different the moment you look at it, asking yourself, did I think this is an offering to the divine? Did I feel this as an offering to the divine? If you recall this every moment of your life, the attitude becomes quite different from what it was before. It becomes very wide. It is a chain of innumerable little things, each having its own place, whilst formerly you used to let them go by without being aware of them. That widens the field of consciousness. If you take a half hour of your life and think of it, putting to yourself this question, is it a consecration to the divine? You will see that the small things become a big thing, and you will have the impression that life becomes rich and luminous.
How we say that, how do I offer my faults when I am not even aware of my faults, right? So I think how it's saying it here, that don't let anything miss, right? Like don't think anything is trivial, don't let anything slide by. This would make that thing so much more difficult, right? Not to see your faults, because there are so many things that just escape us and we don't even, it happens and we are like, okay, it's like we are so busy in our thoughts that it's over before we know it, and something has, shifted. So this would make that falseness so much more apparent, that you would probably not be able to have it in your life for much longer if one is able to do it with sincerity.
What a rapid progress we would make if we gave ourselves half an hour a day. I was just thinking today that, we do it in spurts. Okay, I'm consecrating. Okay, I'm surrendering. Okay, I'm consecrating. Then the whole day you're gung ho doing anything. And just if we took half an hour and actually followed the consecration in every move, picking up a glass to drinking water that, Lord, it's for you, to keeping the glass back, it would be a magical half an hour. And then they say that what Sri Aurobindo says in synthesis is, it will then become a way of life, where at a unconscious, subconscious level, you just behave that way. I mean, we can philosophize and read books, but actually to go through it, I think it's a question of just doing the dhakka push and making a start. You know, like when I paint, I was trying to decipher. It is not just surrender; it's an offering. I almost consecrate, but not wholly, because I'm concentrating sometimes on the color, the shade, the shape. But actually, I should just let it come. That stage has not come. But it's not just surrender. Yes, it is come. It has come to an offering where I'm actually actively giving it. And you know, I did 2 paintings with offering and consecrate. And those 2 paintings turned out magical. Till date, I cannot believe that I did it. I always feel that the divine paint did it through me. And somebody wanted to buy it. I had no way that I could say that, no, I'm not going to, sell it. And then the only thing that struck me was give a fantastic price. Something way beyond somebody's imagination. So they will not buy it. And those 2 paintings, then after that, I told my husband, never let anybody make an offer at all. These are very dear to my heart. But what I'm trying to say is the spirit in which you do something, it changes. That's why I was reading this today, because this was an eye-opener for me. And I said, I've been imagining many things, but then what is it actually? And usually what I do is I put a half an hour, 45-minute alarm before the class. And when the alarm goes, I drop everything and I come. And I tell my husband, I've got to go sit with mother. I come and I sit. And then whatever I'm reading, you all speak on that topic only. And then I come to it.
Beautiful, beautiful, Josnaji. Yeah.
This is a very wonderful chapter in this surrender, consecration, and aspiration.
Self-consecration, no? So, yeah, self-consecration. It's a wonderful chapter. Even Alok, one of his talks told, actually, self-consecration is a marvelous chapter, it seems, in Synthesis of Yoga.
No, this I'm talking of Mother's book on,
Okay, yeah,
on this Conversations on Yoga. She covers every topic of day-to-day life, and she hits really hard. She gives it to you nice and proper. Can't forget.
and the true surrender you can make only through psychic, no? That is also there, no?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Chitraji, it actually comes naturally.
Hmm.
It reaches there, because unless it reaches there, it doesn't reach you. So I never learned any practice to do it. That, that little voice which talks to you like a bird's voice inside your chest, it's probably that is what is the psychic, I think.
Yeah.
That will talk to you, provided you learn to listen. Like I cannot, I admire you for being able to quote, refer, reproduce, say something. And I am an absolute Dumbo. I finish reading.
No. For each and everyone, it is different, no? It is unique.
For
Yeah,
me, I only take the message home. And all the quotations and Savitri reading and all, everything flies out.
As you said, we all touch the glimpses of that. I mean, maybe, yeah, it's all Mother's grace. Nothing to be explained about it. Taru and Captain G, you all can share. You both can share something.
The Ramakrishna Paramahansa's his wife Sarada Devi. So she was living in a village actually. So in between she was coming to Kolkata and after the death of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, and some of the time he was there because there are a lot of social problem at home. There are so many issues actually, day-to-day issues and all. So we are discussing about a small thing, it cannot be just thrown. So there was a broomstick from the coconut tree, that normally we use them to clear the lawn and other places. So then over a period of time, it becomes small because it over usage and all this. Correct use means, but it becomes smaller. Then we throw that and we have a new one. We buy a new one. So somebody was cleaning that lawn, her lawn only where she was there, the house premises, and just thrown this. Then she says, don't do this, because this was giving service for a long time. It was with us. It's actually it's a divine jadu, because that jadu, that stick, it's in that form. The divine has come in that form, and the divine is only cleaning the pathways or whatever maybe they think. They will think like that, so you cannot just throw. So there is a way how to dispose it of. So we must pay attention. It is just because it has become small. It's a throw this and wash your hand and come. It has become so dirty now. Otherwise, it was cleaning all the dirt and dust and all this. Even for the small things, when you perform any small job, from that you can understand that how that person is actually. No need of asking actually, just tell me about yourself or something. Just observe fully yourself. Very small things. Even we are doing our own job, and if we pay attention, and if you're consciously, I am trying to explain why I did that, and all, and we'll get that answer. That yes, everywhere, like Sri Aurobindo is telling, all life is yoga. There is in the beginning of this book, and the first page itself, it is saying all life is yoga. Even Mother also said, I was reading some places, Mother also says that, see, Arvind has said that all life is yoga. Yoga, nowadays we are practicing, everybody is talking about yoga. Yoga means you should be 100% connected with that Supreme. So that is yoga. We cannot be, I'll do 2 hours yoga in the morning, 1 hour, and in the evening 1 hour. Not that. It is that day and night at 24 hours we are connected. In some form or other, we may be doing so many other jobs and all, but we can keep connected. Like today I was seeing a serial where Ramakrishna is Paramahansa is telling at the end that, see, God is seeing everything, every moment, whether it is dark, whether it is in the light, or whether small job or big job or anything else. Everything is. So he's telling in that rich family like Maharaja and all this, the ladies will be there inside. Nobody can see them, but they are seeing. They have got the means to get all the information what is happening around and all this. The similarly is that we may not be seeing that God, but God, wherever He is or wherever she is, so she is watching everything, even all actions and all this. Even the person who has done a lot of sin, they have gone to Ramakrishna Paramahansa. He says, let's say I'm drinking, and also don't tell me to do this realization, yoga in the morning or remembering God in the morning. I cannot do that because I am out of my senses in the night also and in the morning also. So then he says, then when you are drinking, you offer that to God. So like that. And Girish Ghosh, and he became the disciple, let's say, in the sense that the total faith comes. Whatever you like, when you are eating lunch, dinner, breakfast, and all, we offer to God. This is offering. Offering means not that God has to really come and eat that, but we are offering as if God is eating. And similarly, in the Sanskar, in the old Sanskar, even in the village, I am from a remote village, there, my mother or this thing, so wherever they used to go in the kitchen in the morning, and she used to take bath and then go to the kitchen. You cannot go in the same this thing and all this and all this. In town and cities and all, the lives are different. I'm just telling. We are not understanding at the time, but we have seen this, seen our own eyes. We have never asked that why are you doing like this? Why are you doing that? You are not bad or good, or why are you taking bath and changing the clothes and this and that and all? Then you are bad. And so because that food which has been prepared, so it's a divinity actually. There's prepared because that will satisfy the so many persons, those who are eating that food, their soul will get satisfied. So it's also a puja, or say sacrifice or devotion or whatever you call, offering or anything. And if a husband is there, the first thing is to be first it should be served to the husband, and then it is being followed by her. We have never asked the question on how it is, where it is written, why are you following and all. But I have seen just that this is the way the things are done. Even if my father was not present on that day for the dining table or something and all, but in his plate, something used to be kept little bit. That's then the serving others. This sort of faith, that you have to have faith in the God. Like somebody is taking lunch, little bit in Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also in the serial they are showing, when he is eating, he is offering some of the this thing, food little bit and all this to the God, and then he is eating. And even still today in all the ashram, the Ramakrishna missions, they utter this word, Brahmarpanam Brahma Hogit Brahmagno Brahmana Hatam Brahmaiva Tenagantabang Brahma Karma Samadhina. So this sloka, this is 4th chapter, 24th sloka. 4th chapter, 24, 4.24. So it is means the person who is cooking, the what we are eating in the spoon which we are serving. So like when we do homa, in the homa we put ghee, so that the handle with which you are putting the ghee itself is Brahma. And in the fire which you are putting Brahma, that is also Brahma. And the person who is putting, he is also Brahma. So everything is Brahma. Everything is Brahma. So one small story is this one there. One of the disciples from his Guru. Guru has said that, see, Sarvang Khalidam Brahma. But it is difficult to practice or believe or something and all. So one day he was going there and going on the road for some alms and all. So then one elephant came. Elephant came, and so that Mahmud said that this elephant is not behaving properly, so move away from this. So this chap, he didn't listen because he says that God is there everywhere. Guruji has told. So he was bent upon going on the same path. So elephant came and with his trunk picked up and thrown on the side of the road. So but he broke his leg and fractured and all. So he was lying there, and then he was lying unconscious. So then somebody saw that robes and so brought him to the ashram, and then he was unconscious. When he was getting consciousness, somebody was offering milk. He's telling, do you understand who is offering milk? Can you recognize? He says, yes, I can recognize. The person who has thrown me, that person is only offering me milk. It's the God. The God has only thrown me. It is not the elephant actually. God came through this elephant trunk. Means that is that yoga actually. Means every time, every action and whatever is happening, it's not, this is not there. So that is the realization once we have. So then we can see that the things are achieved. We can prove ourselves, like equality. The moment you say that equal, everybody is equal. God is in equal volume present in everybody. So whether it is by weight or whether it is by volume or whichever form it is, that consciousness, everybody is equal. Everybody is equal. So now in different situations we practice different thing, and also we look at the difference and carry on arguing and things like that. So there is a different thing. But everywhere, whatever little bit of study I have done, there I have seen that everybody, whether it is a Christian belief or something, or everybody is moving through the same way. Actually. It is a different path, all right, but you are reaching to the same goal. So one of the case I made a mention that I read one book that complaint-free world. So one of the book, it is available in the Amazon. So this book is so nice, and there it's a very simple thing. Actually, they say that 21 days you have to practice that you will not blame anybody, or say you will not find fault in anything, even not with me also. So you have to tie a band. So you say your moment start now. So from now onwards, you're starting with 21 days. So then you say that there's no complaint. You say, oh, still it is raining. Oh, what a sunlight! I cannot go out and all this. And nothing should be. There should be no complaint at all. He says nothing else you have to do practice. No yoga, nothing of that sort. Then you will become totally purified actually. And that was done through the church. It was done through the church, and the people those started the 21 days. They started, and they had the different feelings and all. Then they expressed. They sent the email and things like that and all this. These are achieved this, achieved that. And the rule was that the moment, suppose after one day, again you have complained something in your mind, then you have to change the band from right hand to left hand. Then your time starts now. 21 days starts now. So the people have taken say 6 months to complete these 21 days at a time without any break. So there's 6 months, somebody 1 year, somebody 5 years, somebody 20 years. So this 21 days is very difficult. Then once you have reached the 21 days, then you are purified. Then nothing can happen. You will be always happy. And whatever lifespan we have given there, that will be passed in any case and all this. Because unnecessarily we are complaining for anything and everything. Anything and everything. We'll get purified through this method. This is wonderful. The type of experiences has been noted in that book. Actually, those who have done this practice and all, and they have written the reflections. The reflections were very nice. In one of the places, there was a beach nearby in the US, and so all over US, the honking is not permitted in the car. But that house was located near the beach actually. So this husband wife they became old, and they were also used to go to the beach, and because there are a lot of crowd in the weekends and all that. So now the lady became very old and sick, and also she was not in a position to move from the bed. So they decided to put one board by the side of the road, the highway, that honking, please honk, is written there. So that they put that board on the side. This sort of board is nowhere available in the US, but in one place this was put. So then one chap was curious. He had seen earlier, but who must have put? So nearby somebody who is staying there must have put. So he went there to inquire. So then people directed him that they are staying in the first floor and you can go. So he went there inside and, can you please explain to me, madam, why have you put this? Then she explained, so there was a life. There was a life. There's 2 days weekend and holidays and summer and all this. That was full of jostles and all. We used to go and enjoy that, how everybody is enjoying and playing and this. But now I am not in a position to go and move. There is no sound. Even the cars are going zoom past and all this, but I don't get any sound. But if somebody honks here, so I will remember those days. Like we keep this thing, a picture of God, because we get connected. We get connected. So in every room, probably we will keep some photo or something now, just to remembrance. Get connected means yoga starts. You see, you wanted to have that yoga. So in the sense that the moment the honk comes, they see that, oh, they are going to the beach, and again there will be a lot of gathering there, and they will be enjoying and all this. These sort of things. Everything, if we realize in our this thing, that we can relate to God Almighty and consciously if everything is performed consciously, our majority of the problems will go off. I think. Thank you.
Captain, sharing is so expansive. You don't know where to, what to appreciate, and yeah. When I was younger, I don't know who used to say that, but about how you said, how that God is watching you all the time. I remember that I was told that, there are two small people, like not people, but two small energies kind of, sitting on each of your shoulder with a book, that kind of a book that never ends. And one of them is writing the good things you are doing, and one of them is writing, constantly the bad things you are doing. So you better be doing, good things, because in the end, it will be compared that what you did and stuff. So, I mean, that was way, I think that's a nice way of telling a kid, because how would they understand it otherwise, that how these things happen. And how faith is so beautiful, like Captain was saying, like and how, say, what Josna ji also read, what I heard again was the center of from where we operate is the most important, right? Like the big words, right? Big titles, big definitions we read today, but it's all coming down to who is doing, who is reacting, from where are you reacting, and that's it. And it's so humbling that we are already doing so much without knowing what we are doing, right? Like it's like, and again, sometimes it's a trap, right? When we read too bigger word, it feels that I'm not there, I'm not doing enough, I didn't know the meaning of this or how it's done. And yet so much of it is just flowing through you, and that's so much grace. But yeah, I was saying that how these small things, like even you talked about, Josna ji, the way you would keep the money, right? And I remember when I was younger, if you drop the money, you would put it on your head and keep it. If your feet touch somebody, you would say, sorry or something. And those things have vanished, right? Because somewhere the faith, I think, left us, and it became like just a chore, right? Like nobody was doing or feeling it. So probably it was good that it went, because it wasn't coming from the heart really. And yet the seemingly funny things or illogical things, when they are done from the right center or with faith or with love, they carry so much, power. And yet with our limited minds, we cannot see that, because we are just trying to put logic on each and everything. Like it's very humbling, right? That how there's a place for everything, right? Like mother says that nothing is right or wrong, it's just at the not at its right position maybe. So yeah. Yeah.
What we covered today from that chapter was only less than half.
I can
Next time we'll read.
yeah.
One
One
very
word is enough. Consecration, that word is having the flame that is lingering in me, actually. Beautiful.
one more thing I learned today, a very simple thing, but which took a tremendous amount of meaning. When these true pandits and all come to the house and do puja and all, we try to offer them something to eat. Pandit ji, eat this, prasad banaya hai, ye kiya hai, wo kiya hai. And time and again, whenever Pandit ji came to the house, he would not eat in my house. Or in anybody's house, wherever the puja was going on. And then one day I went to Panditji. I got the courage, a very elderly man, and I asked him, I said, Panditji, why? Why this distinction? You are not a superior person. I am not superior. We are all the same. Then he gave me the answer and he said, from which place the person who prepares your food and what vibrations and energy he or she puts into your food is not known to us. We are on oath to remain, to try to keep ourselves as as pure to the divine as possible, because we are in his service. So if you are a true yogi, you will eat what God gives you without contamination. So we take only milk and fruit, which directly comes from God. And I was like, that never struck me. It never struck me that those are things which we cannot contaminate. They take something that directly is given. So I thought and thought, because I used to think ki with sadbhavna, with a good heart, if you prepare, but how does the person know that the lady who is making the thing, maybe she's cursing, I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and cook for this fellow, he gave these instructions, I had to do this. We wouldn't know. So it was one more small learning for me, which I remember today when mother was saying offering. I said, yeah, when we offer, where we come from also, that offering matters. I didn't know this aspect. Chitradi, were you aware?
Actually, there are a lot of things, Josna ji, actually. It all become one stage, meaningless rituals, actually. One stage,
Yeah.
It all, and ladies are, as you said, they used to struggle a lot, actually, in these rituals and all. Only ladies. So here comes, as you said, the curse. Because their difficulty, we can't imagine those days. I know about my mom, my mother-in-law, everyone. That are very strict practices which don't have any meaning, as Taru said, meaning from the heart, actually. So something, as you said, if we offer the food to God, that dosha will go. That is the thing. If you say Krishnarpanam and eat really from the heart, there won't be any dosha in the food, actually. That is the thing. But these things are becoming superstitious beliefs and hardcore rituals.
Yeah.
That created a lot of trouble.
Today, Taru has spoken the least. She has been hit hard by heavy.
Actually, I drove like in, kind of interstate. I've been driving since, I don't know, maybe 12 p.m. and I've just reached home. So I'm a bit dazed with the highway driving. So I think I myself am looking at myself and feeling that a bit of loss. I apologize for that. But yeah. But what you just shared, Josna ji, I wonder that like exactly what Chitra ji was saying, that when, like, at least from where I see it today, right now, that if somebody is giving me something with ill feelings, but if I accept it and give it to myself with good feelings, like, because it is, it's like how it said that everything has to be offered. Like, I wonder, like, I would like to believe that the negativity that was given to me, if I am offering it, it would remain. I think it's an easier thing to not just have it, right? Like, that's the easiest. I don't indulge in that. But I think it's even a step further to have it and know that nothing negative can touch me. You know how they say that in the ashram, it makes you stronger because it kept you away, right, from all the different influences and forces till nothing could touch you. So again, it depends on, where you are operating from, how much faith you have. So
Yeah.
and everything is right for who, it's like everybody has their own journey and it's right for where they are doing. And yet I wonder at this thing that, it could take me down. So that means it shows that there's not, that faith is somewhere there, that things can take me down, right? And even that taking down would not be a rise. There is a fear or there is some apprehension, and still it's there. It's good not to indulge. So that is true too. But yet it seems that there's
Yeah, correct. As you said, in the olden days, no ashram, nobody can eat outside without the permission of mother. She is very strict in that aspect, for because that serious sadhana was going on that time, only with limited sadhaks. They are all advised to do everything only with the permission of mother. Only after mother opened it, yeah, wide actually. It became, yeah, every rule as it, yeah, it all gone, but it was there, as you said. Yeah.
Even now, when we go to stay at the ashram,
Hmm.
our attempt is to have all 3 meals in the dining room.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All the senior sadhaks will tell you, beta, don't eat anything outside.
Yeah.
In the fruit you want, eat the ashram banana and stay satisfied.
Yeah.
And the only thing I break is my tea. That ashram doesn't give tea, so I drink tea in my room. But otherwise, and that food is so energizing.
Yeah, sure.
Wow, I crave to go and just be there.
Chitraji, would you like to?
No, that
Yeah,
that consecration is lingering in me. I don't know. Yeah,
So we'll
I
end
don't
the
want to. Yeah,
session, and then you and I, we will share what we were supposed to share today,
no
the
problem.
Friday session, and Josna ji, you'll read the other half.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
keep my gob shut till you all finish your
No,
rendering.
no, 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 no.
We are
It
so
is very
overwhelmed.
beautiful. Very beautiful. Yeah.
So thank you, and I'll stop.
You can jhulo with your gadi.